Haley Stevens sees Israel in her dreams, but she saw them in her nightmares last election night because she lost the Michigan primary. The margin was pretty close, but regardless, it seems that Mike Rogers will face Abdul El-Sayed in the general election. Despite the tens of millions of dollars spent on this race against Abdul, that wasn't enough to beat him. But the thing that scares me the most is how close his primary was. The polls were off by a lot, which could mean they could overestimate Democrat support. It's possible they're overestimating Francesca Hong in the state of Wisconsin because she's currently leading those polls. But his victory has a lot of implications for not just for Michigan, but for Democrats nationwide. Because the establishment has been freaking out since these progressive Democrats have been defeating their candidates. Ever since the Mamdani endorsed candidates won in New York, they've been going crazy. So they try to play containment with Abdul El-Sayed. They called Governor Gretchen Whitmer. They called Gary Peters and other people to endorse Haley Stevens so Abdul wouldn't win. And despite the efforts of the establishment to contain him and progressive victory, he won the primary, but by a narrower margin than most pollsters predicted. Let's talk about the fact that Haley Stevens received over $60 million of outside money, most of it coming from AIPAC. And that's sad. How are you gonna have that much money spent and still lose? They should have gave that money to the homeless or something. But this shows that AIPAC is becoming a liability to the Democrats. Because Abdul El-Sayed used that against Haley Stevens, the fact that she had millions of dollars of AIPAC money going towards her. And it didn't help Stevens when she said Israel comes to her in her dreams. And the primary victory shows that big money can lose, AIPAC can lose, and that the people decide, and not outside money. But what I find hilarious is that AIPAC has plans to spend tens of millions of dollars to help Mike Rogers win this election as soon as Abdul won the primary. And he was right when he said Abdul was right when he said that they were fine with either Haley Stevens or Mike Rogers as a nominee because they're spending money against Abdul El-Sayed in the general election. They wouldn't have done it if Stevens was the nominee. And Michigan has somebody pointed out this fact that the fact that Michigan has open primary elections. And if you've seen all this fear mongering about Abdul El-Sayed winning the primary, you'll know that the Republicans think that he's a weak candidate, that he's easier to beat in the general election. But I believe it will backfire because if they did do that, they kind of stupid for one, and two, I think Abdul will win at the end of the day. They just not looking at their own president. But something that will help Abdul win is the fact that the Democratic establishment has immediately come out and supported him once he won the primary. We had Haley Stevens hugging Abdul El-Sayed after the primaries. With the United Democratic Party, they're probably gonna win. And not to mention, Trump is extremely unpopular, with some polls showing him at a 36% approval rating. That's insane, bro. And he only won the state by 1 point in 2024. And Mike Rogers, he couldn't even win that state with Trump on the ballot. What makes y'all think that he's gonna win in a blue wave year? And I and AIPAC can spend all they want on Mike Rogers, but they're just burning that money. And many believe Abdul will lose because he campaigns with Hassan Piker, and Abdul's views are too radical for Michigan. But from one, I believe he's gonna distance himself from Hassan. He only used them for the primaries, not the general election. And not to mention, he's gonna have more resources in the general election. He can call on Whitmer, he can call on Obama, on Stevens to campaign with him. But we'll see what happens though. Even if he did decide to campaign with Hassan, I still think he pulls through, but like it'll be way closer. And at the end of the day, the moderate Democrats will come home due to the fact that Trump is in office. Trump was talking about this race earlier in the day or last night or something. That's just gonna galvanize the Democratic base, and that's just gonna bring the moderate Democrats home. And the fact that moderates agree with some of the stuff that progressives be saying, like, the economic agenda, like raising the minimum wage, free school lunches, they're going to come home at the end of the day. If Abdul wins the Senate race, this can change the narrative on the 2024 Democratic presidential primaries. Kamala Harris back in 2024 was scared to support more progressive policies. Many believe it was poison to the independent voters and they'll lose the swing states if that happens, which is ironic and laughable because Kamala lost all the swing states anyway. But imagine Abdul El-Sayed winning a swing state with a progressive platform. That shows that the Democratic Party doesn't need to be moderate to win these presidential elections. and that AOC could justifiably win the presidency. Although the establishment is already trying to sabotage progressive chances for the nomination by putting South Carolina as the first primary, which I believe is going to backfire, but Abdul is not even going against a MAGA extremist. He's going up against someone who was in Congress before the Trump era. Mike Rogers is like more of an establishment Republican. He's gonna seem more moderate because of Trump, just because the bar has shifted so low. He's not nowhere near like Marjorie Taylor Greene or Tudor Dixon, but like imagine a progressive beating that type of establishment Republican. The narrative like immediately flips because many moderate Democrats complain about electability. They be like AOC's unelectable. She can't be the candidate for 2028. They say that progressive policies can't win swing states. Imagine Abdul winning a swing state. The electability claim goes down the drain. And something I think that will help Abdul El-Sayed win this election is that he's going to be pushed across the finish line by Jocelyn Benson, who's at the top of the ticket. This will help push him across the finish line given that she won in 2022 by double digits. She's a pretty strong candidate, and Michigan allows straight ticket voting, which is when you fill out your ballot for Democrats and all their nominees. And it's different from regular voting because you only do you only do straight ticket voting once. You just fill out the Democrats and then all their candidates, compared to like voting by the candidates one by one. Trump keeps talking and talking all that smack about Abdul El-Sayed. He's gonna galvanize the Democratic base, and they're gonna come out in droves for him. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Might do a live stream, I don't know yet. Join the Discord server. Peace out.